Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Complex Like Wine, the podcast where we talk about complicated things and improve over time just like wine does. I'm really excited for this guest. Her and I met 2 years ago, but I'm so happy we've stayed connected, and she's a beautiful soul, so I'm really excited to introduce her to you guys. But of course, her name's Kaylee.
Hello. I am Kaylee.
She is Kaylee. We're going to get into wines, like always. And so this week, I'm drinking a white wine from Cantina de Solopaca, and it's a Grigio wine from the Sannio region of Italy. What are you drinking?
Okay, with all the details. I am not a wine connoisseur, but this is from one of my wine connoisseur friends. It's Zoe from Greece, and this wine is all about life and happiness, and it's a rosé. He gave it to me for my birthday. He said it was bubbly and sweet, just like me.
Oh,
I know, right? Shout out Simon. Thank you, Simon.
We love you, Simon.
Yes, we love Simon. That's the wine I'm drinking today.
Ooh, okay. So I'll read the little bio that this bottle gives, and it says the grapes of Greco are picked and vinificated around the middle of September. The vinification method calls for gentle pressing performed at a controlled temperature. The successive aging completes the evolution of this straw-colored wine. Typically fruity and floral in its aroma, the flavor is dry and well-balanced. It goes well with seafood, starters, pasta dishes, white meats, and grilled vegetables, pizza, and mozzarella.
So everything.
Perfect. Like all the foods I like.
Yeah, right? Me too. This has no bio, but on the front is a beautiful tree, and it says a tree of life. And it is indeed sweet and bubbly. So there's my top-notch review.
Cheers.
Cheers. So happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, we met. So just to give everyone a little overview of how we met, we simply just connected and ran into each other at lovely Electric Forest 2019. And I just feel like we were we were sitting closer to each other at one of the larger stages. It was the Triple E stage, if anyone is familiar. And I think we just kind of connected, right? Like just shared our energy and hung out for a few hours. And
it was right before Subtronics played.
Mm-hmm. Which was amazing.
Yeah. No, I remember seeing you in your pink hair and like, she's so pretty. Like, oh, she's gorgeous.
Oh, stop.
And you're just so friendly. Like, I remember you gave me a smile and then we started kind of connecting. And then when Subtronics and other artists played, just raging together. And I'm like, oh, I like her. I have to stay connected. What's your Instagram?
Like, this is a good human. I felt the exact same way about you. So I'm so glad we connected. And then we also ran into each other the next day at Electric Forest, which is such a huge festival. You know, it's like 60, 70,000 people.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, I truly believe the forest connects you to people that you're meant to be connected with. And so just the fact that we met on that night, Friday night, and then ran into each other the next day, like what are the odds, right? That our paths would cross at the exact same time in this massive, massive festival. Very slim. So I am super thankful to have met you for sure. There's a spider crawling on my boat. Fun.
Okay. Hopefully it doesn't crawl closer to you.
Yes, I'll keep an eye on it.
But yeah, if listeners aren't familiar with Electric Forest, go on Instagram or go on YouTube and look up videos. I actually did an after movie video. I'll put the link in the bio if you're curious to watch it. But amazing festival, my favorite completely. I highly recommend if you love raves and nature.
Yes, it is so much fun. There's so much to explore. I think I averaged 10 miles a day.
Same.
So it's huge, right? But so much fun. It's truly like its own world. Like when you go onto the campgrounds, it just feels like you're literally stepping into another magical world where so many things, so many different possibilities exist. And yeah, it's so much fun. I can't wait for us to go back.
I know. Yes, we're definitely going to have to go back when more festivals are happening and this COVID season passes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but so what Kaylee's going to share with us is a lot about spirituality and her journey with that. And the reason why I asked you to talk about it is because I think there's a certain type of person when they go to festivals and experience things, it kind of opens up, as people like to say, your third eye, and kind of gives you a lot of perspective and reflection. And the journey you've been on is a journey now I'm
hopping on.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, you're stepping back on the train.
I'm stepping back on the train and I really like it so far. So yeah, I'll let you get started.
Sure. Sounds good. Thank you. So I guess I kind of should give a background on my journey to spirituality, because it's definitely shaped and been different over the period of my life. So to give background, I grew up in a rather strict Lutheran Christian home. So, you know, from the time I was born, church every Sunday, Christian camp in the summers, like Awana every Wednesday night, that type of thing. It was very embedded and ingrained. I couldn't really watch Harry Potter. Green Day was a no-no. I love rock music. That was really frowned upon from my parents. And, you know, like looking back, I don't really think they did those things out of like malintent or to shun me from the world in a sense. It's more or less like they thought they were protecting me. However, and we've talked about this in the past, but it kind of it was really abrasive for me growing up, and it made church and religion and spirituality seem like an absolute chore, to the point where I wasn't sure why I was going. I didn't really know what I believed in, if I believed in God. I also had a hard time finding trust and faith and a solid relationship in the pastor that I was listening to every single week. So eventually, you know, after years and years and years of that kind of forced expectation and, you know, me essentially like faking my spirituality, I was left really drained and just over it. So that moved into college, and I would probably be what is called atheist when I was in college. I didn't believe in anything. A little bit of a shithead, which is okay. We kind of go through that stage, and just was like, you know, when we die, we dissolve into dirt and that's it. And I'll eventually spring up into grass and a deer might eat me. And that is the circle of life. That's truly kind of like where I was at. So I was that way for like a few years, which, you know, also is totally okay. I respect whatever anyone believes in. You can believe in whatever, as long as you're not harming anyone, then I don't see any issue with it. So that was that. And then I started getting into like the EDM scene naturally. Actually, Electric Forest 2018 was my first show, first festival, first anything. I really just jumped into that scene, and my soul just knew that it was going to be good. It was going to be a good time. And that wasn't really where the spirituality kicked in quite yet, or like my curiosity to dive into the spirituality journey that I am in now. It was more or less just like seeing all of these very free-spirited people that are so accepting of who they are. That was so inspiring. It inspired me to go on that same journey, to really be my authentic self and figure out who I am deeply on a very deep intrinsic level. And that's kind of how it started. Yeah, should I pause or should I continue?
Oh, no, go for it.
Okay. So that kind of started, I, got into the scene. And then one of my friends, her name is Aves. She is super into crystals. And she brought some crystals and she gave me a crystal on my second electric forest in 2019. Kind of chatted about like the healing properties about it. And I was so fascinated because before then I knew crystals existed, but I wasn't really aware of the metaphysical properties that they offer. And that was something that really intrigued me. Because at that point in my journey, I just knew that everything is energy, no matter what. And energy is neither created nor destroyed. So it's there somewhere. And the energy within crystals really interested me. It kind of interested me to dive deeper into that. So that was in 2019. And then come 2020, COVID started to happen. So in between that period from, June of 2019 up until March of 2020, it was a really dark time for me, unfortunately. I was struggling with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and quite frankly, very suicidal. And I just kind of didn't really see a point in being here anymore. And I was just in a lot of pain. And so eventually I was like, well, I want to make the most out of this life. So how can I learn to cope with my pain and trauma from my past, which I'll touch on a little bit later. And crystals is kind of what came to mind, and their healing energy. So started getting into that, learning more about them, buying some more, kind of starting to grow my collection, which is quite large now. And I started getting into yoga, and I would go every week with my best friend, Maddie, and it was very healing. It started becoming a safe place for me. And I would be on this yoga mat in a small town in Wisconsin with my crystals, and I would start crying in class. And I was just releasing so much energy and so much pain that had been stored within for so long that I honestly ignored when I was in college. When I, was atheist, I just repressed it all. I repressed all of those deeper emotions. And so it's finally coming out, and it was a lot to deal with. It was very overwhelming. And so yoga became a huge part of my life and still is. It really helped me process and heal. So one day, this is a specific moment that I really remember that really sparked me into who I am today. It was a typical yoga class. At the end, we all kind of lay down for a few minutes and just stretch and center ourselves. So I was on my back with my eyes closed, and my hand was laying out on my side. My best friend, Maddie, was right next to me. And I just felt this calling to hold her hand. And so I grabbed her hand. We're just laying there and holding hands. And at first, I just felt like I just wanted her comfort. But then I started feeling this ball of energy and heat in my hand. And it kept growing and getting hotter and more intense. And it started traveling all the way up my arm until my whole arm and hand was buzzing and radiating with this heat and energy. And I had no idea where it came from, but it felt like I was pouring this light into this person next to me that I cared so much about. And it felt like we were just sharing this bond and this experience. And it was this really beautiful energy transfer. And I was so curious with what was happening, but also not wanting to do anything to for it to stop. So I just kind of let it happen. And then the class naturally ends. And so I stand up and I go to my instructor, Sally, who was kind of like my yoga mom to me. And I was like, I'm not really sure what just happened. What just happened? Like, can you, like, I was so confused. And so I told her what happened, and her eyes widened, and she's like, oh my gosh, Kaylee. She was like, you should really, really look into Reiki. She's like, she happens to be certified. She's a Reiki master. And she was like, what just happened is Reiki, like life force energy. And she's like, and you connected on a really deep level with her. And that's kind of why you're able to do that. And so that was a moment of awakening. It was a very powerful moment for me. It was a moment where I was like, I felt this. This was real. Okay, this wasn't some mojo bullshit, right? Like, it was physically there. It came out of nowhere. It wasn't like some placebo effect where my brain was pulling this out because I wanted to feel it. Like, I had no idea what Reiki was. And so that is what sparked that. And then ever since then, I just, climbed down this beautiful rabbit hole of spirituality, while also recognizing how whitewashed some of the spirituality can be and being mindful of that. Me being a white person, I, am very aware of cultural appropriation. I want to be very respectful of where I'm learning these things from and giving credit where it's due, which with like a lot of new age spirituality, I think sometimes is missed upon. So that was also something I wanted to be really aware of as I was diving into this beautiful rabbit tunnel that I like to think of it. So kind of got into that. It really helped me start to climb out of this dark negative rabbit hole that I was in, just spiraling over and over again, very anxious, having anxiety attacks, not able to get through my normal day, not able to really get through work, not able to focus, into someone that feels this calling. And I feel like was a start of finding my soul purpose. So that was like the start of my journey. And then I got really curious. I started looking up divinity, angel numbers, just Reiki in general, what that means. So that kind of started this whole thing of research. And I am by no means an expert or a master. I am still very much exploring, researching, and learning. I like to absorb, but I also like to share what I'm learning, which is why I think partially why you invited me on this podcast. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what started. And then I just kept reading and reading and reading. And then I kind of stumbled upon Wicca and what being Wiccan is. And, it was a very natural fit for me after doing research. I grew up on a farm around animals. I grew up riding horses, taking care of, so many different types of animals, feeling so connected to nature, that it felt natural, just to be connected to that. And that is the purpose of being Wiccan as well. So now I identify as that. And that is a whole nother thing that we could dive into if we wish to. But that is kind of the journey of my spirituality. And it's given a lot of my trauma and pain from my past a lot of purpose and a lot of healing. And I guess I'll stop there for now. But that is kind of the story.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Of course.
If you're comfortable with that, could we touch now about the trauma and pain you've gone, and what are some things that really were unexpected through your journey of reflecting on the past experiences and the work you had to go through?
Sure. Absolutely. So, life happens, and unfortunately good people experience traumatic events and harmful things. And I was no different. I had a pretty happy-ish life up until about the age of 10. And then the recession happened. I'm not alone, and my family's not alone in having suffered the way we did. So my heart definitely is very empathetic to all the others. But I was basically in foster care for a little bit. Before that, my stepdad wasn't able to take care of his business. Before the recession, we were thriving. He was in the remodeling housing market. So naturally, of course, his whole entire market crashed. And before, he had so much business, and now he had none and wasn't able to get work anywhere. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So with no income, them trying to take care of a whole farm with tons of animals. I have 4 older step siblings, and I have a twin. That's 6 children. Like, it's a lot. And they just couldn't keep up with it. I was 10 years old, and my twin, so they tried to kind of hide a lot of what was going on. But of course, when my horse that was there yesterday is now gone, and they said that they had to sell him, and then your horse trailer and truck gets repossessed, and all of a sudden we're going to the food shelter for food and boiling water to take a bath. You kind of can put 2 and 2 together. So I knew something was not right and something was going on. I didn't really know what a house foreclosure meant or what going into bankruptcy meant at that time, but that's what happened to my parents, and they just weren't able to keep up with anything. And eventually they became so unstable that the police stepped in essentially, and my twin and I went to foster care for a little bit so they could kind of get, for lack of better words, their shit together. So I was going to school as a 10-year-old in the 5th grade, in foster care, but not able and not wanting to tell my friends what was going on in my personal life. So that already was really hard to have to go to school, pretend like everything is normal, suppress all of these emotions that I was feeling, and then go back and have my at-home world and personal life completely shaken apart and, gone from what I was. My normal every day was not that anymore. And my future was this huge question mark. And it was honestly just a means of survival. So from that point in time, I had to I did have to step up and kind of grow up really fast. I kind of became like the big sister to my twin and had to take care of us because my parents were unable to. So with that said, I had to grow up really fast. I felt like I was an adult in a 12-year-old body by the time I was 12. And I didn't realize until now that I missed a lot of really being a child and kind of growing up in that naturally, which I'll touch on with like my healing work in a little bit. And then, middle school, high school, I was incredibly an angsty child or a teenager, preteen. And I had a lot of like emotional issues, and I didn't deal with them healthily whatsoever. So that was really hard. I struggled with an eating disorder. I self-harmed for honestly since middle school up until my early 20s. Thankfully, I have been in recovery for that for a few years.
Congrats.
Thank you. It was really hard, but and I know I'm not alone in dealing with these things. And as a young teen and teenager, I just frankly didn't know how to process everything that was going on in my life and handle my emotions while also feeling invisible to my family. And so that's kind of how that manifested. So it was a lot of pain and trauma inflicted upon me and also self-inflicted. And I kind of repressed. I repressed a lot of it in college just to make it through college. And be the best student I can be and the best friend and like social and all of those types of things. And then once I graduated, I had to force myself to slow down. And when I slowed down, I was like, shit, there's a mess inside me. There's a lot inside that's going on that I have been avoiding and repressing. And because of that, that's how it started manifesting back into anxiety and suicidal thoughts and like depression and depressive episodes and isolation and all of those types of things. And so that's why I got to that point. I was like, all right, I either am not going to be here on this earth anymore, or I need to find my light again. I need to find a way to help and heal myself in ways that I haven't been able to get from other people. So yeah, that's that, which then, you know, really motivated me into my spiritual journey. And, I'm also like a very empathetic human. And I'm not sure if your audience might not know what an empath is, but
yeah, do you want to explain it for anyone that doesn't?
Yeah, definitely. So an empath is just someone that is very, very in tune to other people's feelings and animals and or nature. So they're very sensitive to emotion shifts, energy shifts with any living object. And they want to help people. They want to quote unquote fix people. They're typically that friend that everyone goes to for advice. And that person, when they give advice, their friend says, you knew exactly what I needed to hear. That's exactly what I needed to hear. I can't tell you how many times I have heard that in my life. Granted, maybe I'm just good at giving advice.
I think you are, at the very least.
At the very least, right? But there's so many more things to being an empath, like very sensitive to violence, gore, blood. That has always been me since I was growing up. I always felt a deeper connection into animals and nature than I felt like other people around me really experienced. So that too is also hard. It's hard to be a very empathetic human in the world that we live in now, when we're seeing so much destruction, anguish, sadness, globally. You know, climate change is something that's hard for me. Sometimes I wake up and I get so overwhelmed at the state of our world and the fact that I am, you know, just this one person. Like, how can I fix and change and help these things? That seems so big and so overwhelming. I don't know where was I tying that back to, but that's kind of what an empath is in my mind. So yeah, that just heeding that call and understanding that's who I am and I can't change that and I need to embrace that also has helped me. I used to let myself kind of be bulldozed over by people and not have healthy boundaries because I constantly wanted to help and fix people, take care of them. Very nurturing person. But eventually, without healthy boundaries and without really recognizing your needs, it started to destroy me. I started pouring more energy and love into other people than I did myself. And that was also something that, you know, inherently caused a lot of anxiety and like depressive episodes. And so being on the spiritual journey, it gave myself a lot of power back to myself, and also a lot of, what's a good word for this? A lot of safety and knowing that I have higher beings protecting me and watching over me. I believe angels exist. I think that everyone has a guardian angel. And ever since I really started this journey, I've felt their presence. I have seen angel numbers literally like everywhere. Just kind of have to open your eyes and be open to receiving those messages. And I feel like people would be very surprised at what they have for that. So, yeah.
Again, thank you so much for just being open with me and like trusting this platform. I appreciate how vulnerable you have been and sharing your story. And I know there's other people who have gone through trauma and have experienced things, whether you've gone through foster or family struggles, financially, anything that someone, even me, like we all relate and we understand and can empathize. And yeah, so thank you.
Of course. I think vulnerability is a strength and it's beautiful too. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to talk about this, especially people that might know me in real life, but it's a part of my story and it's not something I should be ashamed of. Or anyone for that matter. You shouldn't be ashamed of your story. It's brought you to this place and who you are for a reason. And it's really up to you to like find that reason. And for me, it's finding that soul purpose, what I'm driven to do. I know I'm put on this world to help and connect with people on a much deeper level. And that is kind of what I'm really striving and seeking and figuring out how I can do that as best as possible. Capitalism in corporate America is definitely interesting that I'm a part of right now. So it's hard because I have my authentic truth and kind of know what my soul purpose is. But at the same time, I'm in corporate America and I'm playing that game. So it's really interesting too, because I have developed to become a very spiritual person and very, very open-minded, but also logical in the way that I know you kind of have to play a game to be successful in this country. So that is kind of like the bridge that I'm on now. I have trust and faith that if I were to dive into potentially a more spiritual career, that it'll all work out how it's meant to. But also that logical and rational part of me wants to make sure I have a retirement, wants to make sure I have PTO every year, wants to make sure I have health insurance. And so I think a lot of people might relate to that too, is how can you balance this in this day and age?
Yeah, that you bring up a really important thing of you don't have to sacrifice who you are or jeopardize your genuine personality or characteristics just to please other people. Mm-hmm. But it's also not wrong for you to be logical and know how the world works and not be naive of other people, because anywhere you are, there's always going to be that one person or that one group that is going to try to go after you or try to put you down because they're looking out for themselves first. And you know what? You don't have to take it personally, but like you said, be logical, be smart, take care of yourself, but still hold true to your values and your character and everything.
Yes, exactly. And what's helped me is honestly, my dream would to, run some type of holistic healing business in the mountains on the West Coast and have an animal sanctuary and just help people, help animals and take care of that. But the logical part of me, right? It's like, okay, well, you need funding for this. You need savings. Like you have to plan this. So it's also, it adds in a layer of patience and strategy that I didn't quite see before. And now I'm kind of at that spot where it's like, okay, I will get there one day. I know that I will be there one day. What can I do now to help prepare myself best for that future, financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of those things. So that's kind of where I'm at right now in my life in that space. And that's okay. Just accepting where you are and also embracing this part of your journey because you can never get time back. Yeah. So you might as well enjoy it with what you have because that dream is my dream. And I know I'll achieve that one day in the future, but it's also not guaranteed. So that's kind of where I am right now. It's really interesting. I'm still very much diving into all things with the spirituality, Reiki, which Zyra, we should talk about because I know you just started a class.
Yeah. Let's
dive in.
Yeah, let's do Reiki. And then I would love to learn more about your inner child work and what you could share with others. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. So do you want to, you shared already your experience with Reiki. I started a class online where you learn Reiki and how to do it. And at the end, you're able to get certified. So when I first heard about Reiki through you, and then, synchronicity is a strange thing. Someone from my past re-entered in my life and they mentioned Reiki. And as I'm starting my own kind of reshaping of spirituality and all that, one of the months ago we talked, I started my crystal collection and now it's expanded more and I'm learning more about chakras and your energy in your body and what it means for it to be blocked, activated, and all of that. And so I started looking more into Reiki and saw a class where you can just learn. And if you get through all of it, you get certified. So, I just want to learn to see how it helps me because I struggle with anxiety, depression occasionally. And I know there's parts physically I can tell when I'm blocked somewhere. So, yeah. And kind of a side story, I did an energy healing session last year. And so
sound bath of sorts?
I've done sound baths before, but this one was very different. I don't know how to describe it, but she was over Zoom and she kind of goes through the different rows and columns of your body. And I believe she was Christian. So she talked to God, a higher power of something. So very energetically. And she was talking to this higher power and she would list down different traumas or emotions you have been harboring. And she'll list a specific age and who it's connected to. And so she went through mine. And the first time I was ever suicidal, I was 6. And first thing she does is suicide and depression at 6 related to mom and going down specifically. And I had goosebumps. I was like,
I have goosebumps.
I don't tell anyone that. This is only a few people know about that, my family, and that's in now you and the world knows. But anyway, but I was just blown away. I'm like, how does she know this energy is connected to this person and exactly the ages and all of that? And so she said, your solar plexus is very stuck and that's what your needs work. And I've dealt with stomach issues for a long time. And so I really, there's a physical connection there.
Yeah, to the energy.
Yeah. And so that is what also sparked the spirituality of, I grew up Christian and went to Christian schools all my life, even college. And you're kind of taught that everything outside of Christianity is Satan and demonic. And I've realized it's not that. I think there's an ignorance with other religions not doing the research when trying to understand other religions. But yeah, so anyway, did that, started doing crystals, meditating, oracle cards and tarot, just trying to figure out how can I connect that to my core belief of faith and Christianity and find a way to merge the two. And through therapy, I've kind of been able to figure out a way of doesn't have to be so black and white.
Yes.
Yeah. But with the Reiki class, it's been really interesting of understanding that, like you said, energy is in everything and it's not created or destroyed. It's just there ever flowing. So learning how to kind of harness energy from the universe to yourself and be able to sense it, and learning how to feel the different chakras and get those flowing if there's blockages. And so right now in my class, I'm learning how to, there's Reiki symbols you learn to with intentions of different parts of healing. So I'm learning those right now and learning how to scan your body, and then you learn how to do Reiki on people. So this whole part of my class I'm really excited about.
Yeah, that's so exciting. That's absolutely amazing. I'm so thrilled for you. And also, like, my ego is flattered that I sparked that curiosity for you to go. And I'm so excited because I know this will be super healing for you. And also, then you can connect with people on a deeper level. So that's phenomenal. We will definitely have to touch base again about your learnings. I am just reading books and talking to people that are Reiki practitioners. And one thing that they told me is that a Reiki practitioner doesn't cause the healing. They're not the source of it either. They just know how to channel that energy and then cause it to flow through your body. So to give maybe a little bit of more overview for the audience, you know, as kind of Zyra was saying, your chakras or your spots in your body can be blocked. Either that's from trauma, from stress, like from whatever. And what Reiki does is allow that flow to continue throughout your body. And you would be amazed, anyone would be amazed at the effects after. Physically, you feel better, mentally, you feel better. And I did some research too. I have been doing research, and there's been multiple studies. Granted, larger studies need to be done. And also Reiki just kind of started in the 19th century. So it's been around in Japanese culture for centuries and centuries, but it didn't start to be brought over into the Western culture until the 19th century. So in my eyes, there's still a lot more to be explored, a lot of studies to be done, which is really exciting. But the cool part is from my research, it alleviates depression, anxiety, fatigue. It helps relieve symptoms of depression. There's even a study that I found in 2016 where they did a study of women with terminal cancer, and they had Reiki done upon them, and they said that it enhanced their quality of life. So it improved their confidence, it helped them sleep at night. And then it also boosts your mood. So it's just really interesting to see that, like, with this type of energy healing, it can overall give you a better quality of life, which I think 99.9% of humans are seeking.
Oh, yeah.
I just found that super interesting. And also the biggest part was for me that the Reiki practitioner isn't the source of healing.
They're just like a vessel to channel it through.
Vessel, exactly. And that to me was awakening because it further cements my belief that everything is connected. I'm connected to you, you're connected to me, we're connected to the trees, we're connected to the stars, like everything. And that is so beautiful. And I don't know about you, but there's been many, many times in my past where I have felt completely alone. So isolated. No, like, even though I have like the bestest friends that are so supportive, absolutely amazing. They would have been there if I called them, but you still feel alone. You don't want to call anyone. You're just so isolated. This learning and this connecting to everything, learning that we are connected to everything, has truly like cured that symptom for me. I used to get into these like depressive episodes where I was like, I am so alone. No one understands me. No one gets where I'm coming from. I'm always going to be this way. There's never going to be anyone there for me, like in the way that I need them consistently. They're not going to stay. Yeah. Like all those intrusive thoughts. Right. And then once I truly believed that and learned that, that completely went away. And that's also been something that's helped me in my journey of solitude right now. Like I'm really finding out what it means to stand by myself. And it has been such a powerful, amazing journey that I want everyone to really experience, like that feeling of being connected to everything, but also being able to stand completely on your own and be in solitude. So
I wanted to tell you the times we've talked in the past, and I remember when your journey to solitude and the transition you had to go through. I can just tell and sense the difference of how much growth you've gone through. And I'm so happy for you. Congrats.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that gives my heart the warm fuzzies. Thank you so, so much. That means a lot to me that other people can see it. I feel it inside and out. I can't remember the last time I've been this happy inside and out. And I feel like I've found my light again, and I'm ready to share it and continue to connect after coming from quite a dark place. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, do we want to touch on the inner child stuff?
Yes.
The last bit of time? Okay. So as Zyra has mentioned before, I have to talk like no one knows nothing, like no one knows anything about anything. So inner child work is some spiritual work that you can do. And basically what it means is you are connecting to that inner child inside you. You are connecting back to the kid version of yourself, from 3 to 12, whatever that means to you, connecting back to that person and really identifying yourself with that person again. And it's really hard to do as an adult because for so much, and me included, when I was a teenager or 10, 11 years old, I would be hanging out with like 14, 15, 16-year-olds and being like, oh, I can't wait to be a teenager. I can't wait to be an adult. I can't wait to be able to go to a club or whatever. Now that I can do all of those things and I'm an adult, I miss so much of the pure, innocent, lighthearted fun that being a child has to offer. And fortunately and unfortunately, I had to grow up really fast. And so I wasn't really able to experience the entirety of that process. And so for me, part of my healing journey, in order for me to heal and move past the trauma that has happened to me, a lot of inner child work has been required. So what is inner child work? That's so vague, Kate. It can be literally anything that child blank would want to do. So like, what would you want to do as a child? That sounds like fun. For me, that was running around in a forest and blowing bubbles and riding horses and being silly and free and creating things, making art, like being messy, letting myself be messy and not having like this OCD part kick in, like, oh, you're going to have to clean that up. That type of thing, that has been really healing for me. So that's been a big part of this journey too, is I give myself time every single week at the very least to work on these things. And I think first step is connecting to that inner child self. So I meditate, I visualize young Kaylee, what she looked like as a kid. And I talk to her. I tell her that this is a safe place. I'm here to support you. I love you so much. I'm so sorry for what you had to go through when you were younger. And I literally I'm getting emotional, but I literally envisioned giving her a hug, giving her everything that she needed that she didn't have when she was a kid. And so being able to connect to that person and tell them that this is a safe place, you're safe, you're protected, it's been really healing and letting me open myself up to other people in the world. If you can help yourself feel protected, like the true inner self inside you, then you are going to be so much more confident and vulnerable to the world because you got yourself, that everything's going to be okay. No matter what, at the end of the day, you have yourself, and that truly that's, all that you need. So for me, I encourage everyone to connect to their inner child. You would be so surprised about how much fun you'll have by just being able to be silly and connect to that person again. And activities for that type of work is different for everyone. So like, let's say, your inner child, you grew up and you just like to go fishing or hiking or camping or like things like that. Go do that. Like carve time out and make it less of an adult trip, and make it more about finding that inner self and that inner child and giving that inner child those experiences that maybe they missed out on in the past. Yeah. And it's been really helpful for me personally, and also helped me realize what truly makes me happy and what I want to do in the future. Aside from going to a bar every single weekend, there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I love having fun, going to those social things, but I think finding the side and finding other activities that are like just as much fun as those types of things that I wouldn't have thought of before has been super fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I barely started learning about inner child work this year when I started going to therapy and reading books. And some of the things I've learned is if it's kind of hard for you to kind of imagine what you were in a childhood, or because of trauma, there's years where you just don't remember, which is me. I have lots of years where I don't remember my childhood just because you repress trauma. You can write yourself a letter. Write yourself a letter to your inner child and be like, what were things that you needed and that you didn't get? And acknowledging, forgiving yourself for going through that, apologizing and giving yourself that now. And there's different articles, there's different books that you can read all about it, but I've started to kind of dip my toes into figuring out how to talk to my inner child, and it's been very revealing of the way I process things, how that created me. And like you mentioned before, I had to go through a pretty traumatic childhood with my family situation, but I wouldn't trade that for anything because it's made me who I am now and brought a lot of self-awareness, even though I had to grow up really early and didn't get to have the naive childlike character like most of my peers still had. Mm-hmm. It's allowed me a lot of wisdom and self-awareness that I carry now. And so, like you said, it's your choice. The way you use your experiences, the way you channel it, it's all up to you.
Yes, it is, which is super empowering too. You're not following this step by step process. It's truly what makes sense to you and what you feel connected with. And I think that is also such a beautiful part about this new age spirituality is it's such a gray area. There's like, you can make it what you want. You can take bits and pieces of things and focus on something a lot or not focus on it at all. Like whatever makes sense to you and your healing and your growth, I think, is what matters. But the biggest part is there's so many people, and me included before I really started on this, that was so disconnected from like my true self. It felt like I was just walking through this fog. So I think like the first step is really taking the time and energy to connect to your inner self, to your inner child, really visualizing, that person, like I truly imagine little Kaylee standing right in front of me and, me feeling like so powerful and wisdomous now, looking down at her and just being like, it's okay. Like, look at you now, like, look at how far you've come and how much farther you will continue to go. Like, you are safe, you are protected. I am here to give you everything you needed that you weren't able to get. And then taking steps to that, whatever that looks like. So yeah, definitely recommend inner child work. I think one of the things I love about festivals too, is people go there and they can just be big kids, right?
Yes.
You can wear a onesie and like a cowboy hat and like have like a staff and like glow in the dark sticks and like dance all weird. And like, no one's going to judge you. And like, if anything, people are going to come dance with you. Like, it's just so beautiful to be able to experience that, especially when our world is so much about grinding, capitalism, success, material items, retirement, stock market, like all of those things, to just be able to like step back and just be is like so beautiful and so taken for granted for. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree to everything you just said. To piggyback off the idea of festivals and being a big kid, one of my favorite memories or groups of people I met at Forest was a family that had little blow-up balloon aliens with lights, and they all matched, and I was with them, and I was like, oh my God, that's so cute, and they gave me one, and I had that alien balloon for the whole weekend.
Oh my gosh, that's so adorable. I love it. Yeah, it's the best, right? And if you're not familiar with the EDM scene, well, Zyra, I know you are, but to the audience, there's this bracelet trading thing called Candy, and like people will just make these bracelets and trade them with people just for the simplicity of wanting to spread love and positivity. And like, it's just so much fun, right? Like, it's just a great time, and people are there just to have fun and be in the moment and like be with your friends and meet new people and have these wonderful, crazy, exciting, magical experiences that you could never, that if you try to do in the quote unquote real world, people would look at you and judge you in a way that doesn't happen really at festivals. So, yeah.
Inner child work. Go try it. Do some research, find some books. I'm sure there's videos on YouTube or just articles you can find on it. I'll see if I could find some to link in the bio, whatever platform you're on.
Yeah. And I feel like too, if anyone is doing any inner child work, like please share with us, like what you guys are doing, what it looks like for you. Like, it's different for everyone. And that's kind of, I think, the beautiful part of it. So
yes, please. Yeah, please share. I'll put Instagram handles in the bio. Reach out if you have questions, share your spirituality or inner child work. We'd love to hear more about it.
Yes. Absolutely. I have a feeling this is one of many podcasts that we'll be chatting with. So I'm very excited for the future.
Oh, no, definitely. You're going to have to come on for more. I feel like we have so much we could talk about and just learn from each other. So
don't pull my leg, I guess. I'll be there. Of course.
Was there any last minute things you wanted to share or mention with the audience?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening, everyone. Hopefully my story was helpful to you in some way, shape, or form. Thank you, Zyra, for giving me this platform to also share this. I think being vulnerable and being very open about this stuff is hard, but important and just really necessary to talk about. I think this all kind of stems back into just like mental health in general. Like, so many people, everyone is struggling with something of some sort. And just to, be open about it, I think hopefully inspires people to be more open about their story too. So that's about all that I leave with. And I hope everyone does something to make someone's day better.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Kaylee. I had a really good time talking and reconnecting with you.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me. And I cannot wait for future episodes.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, for listening to this other episode. Again, try to put some links in bio. Cheers.
Cheers, indeed.
By the way, I didn't get to describe this wine. It's really good. I'm noticing more and more I'm liking drier white wines. And so I would recommend this one, people.
I despise dry wine, but to each their own. I'm sure, I know there's a lot of people. This one is sweet, bubbly, and I drink box wine, so I can't even be a good professional review of it. But 10 out of 10 recommend Zoe red wine or rosé wine. And thank you so much, Simon, for the birthday gift.
Yes, thank you, Simon. Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.